Is Rutgers' 15-17 season with two top 5 recruits a historically bad one? One writer seems to think so. We'll get to that. And a former Rutgers offer and 4-star recruit requests to rescind his commitment. That would be an absolute perfect fit for Rutgers. Let's get to it. Okay, happy Friday to you all. Hope you all enjoyed a terrific week and are planning on a great weekend. Hello, my name is Tom, and we have a little bit of not directly related Rutgers news, but there's a guy out there that we really need to chase after to retool Rutgers basketball into the type of team that we need to be in order to be successful. And that's the news that a former Rutgers offeree, not sure which, I was an English minor at Rutgers, and I'm not sure if that's an offeree, how that works. Nonetheless, 4-star Kevin Odie. He was ranked number 64, 75, depending on the recruiting services. 6'4", 6'5", 190 pound shooting guard, small forward, chose West Virginia over Rutgers, Creighton, Louisville, Marquette. Got some good teams in Oklahoma State, Colorado. His coach, Darian DeVries, leaves West Virginia for Indiana. So Kevin is now requesting to rescind his commitment. And I'm not sure how that all works with the NIL, if their contracts signed and what have you, but this will be interesting. But this is a guy that we absolutely, positively, without question, should re-offer if the opportunity arises. Number 18, shooting guard, small forward in the country, senior in high school. 6'4", 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists per game. Rhode Island Gatorade Player of the Year, state title game, I want to say maybe at least once, maybe twice, not sure about that. But he's exactly what we need to retool our team to play to our strengths and Coach Pikel's personality and the way that he coaches and teaches his team. He's imposing on the perimeter, very aggressive, guarding the ball. You think that's something we need? Applies lots of pressure and forces turnovers, and when Coach talks about what he wants to do, applying pressure. Now, what was it against the USC? Talked about how when they started to make the comeback in the second half, they had success with pressure defense, but you can't keep it up for 40 minutes. Kevin flourishes in an up-tempo, high-pressure schemes, but he has versatility enough to be able to switch back and forth over to a half-court offense. Excellent perimeter rebounder, gets downhill in the open court, finishes above the rim with explosiveness, power, and second chance points. This just sounds like a wish list of traits that we're looking for in a guard and on the perimeter. Made strides as a shooter. Is he a pure, efficient shooter? No, but we've had enough of guys that can play great defense, and they're inconsistent with their scoring and their shooting. But he has made strides with his shooter and as a shooter and with his spacing. I think he'd fit right in with Jay Will and Jay Mike. Similar kind of players that would be able to establish some chemistry together. Nonetheless, to finish with the scouting report, he brings immediate value because of his physical tools and how hard he plays. He's got Rutgers written all over him. If his skill set continues to develop, he can evolve into a legit big guard that unlocks those upside scenarios. So there we have it. This is a guy that's going to play hard, play tough, play determined, can rebound, play the perimeter, explosive above the basket. This is everything you could ask for uh, in a shooting guard, small forward, having someone on the perimeter that's play the perimeter that's balanced. This is Kevin. This is a guy we have to chase after. I'm not sure what the NIL would be for him, but nonetheless, we need to re-up, re-offer, and I think that would be a great start to retooling our team going forward. We'll see how that all shakes up, and hopefully there will be positive news for us in that regard. Second story today is about Rutgers 15-17 season. Is it a historic failure because we had 2 top 5 recruits? There's one writer who seems to think so that I saw on CBS Sports. Cameron Salerno. His headline was Rutgers loss to USC assures historic squander of talent. I'm sure he'd get a lot of guys to upvote that. But let's take a look at this. He cites 10 teams landing in recent history. It doesn't go way in the way back machine. 10 teams landing 2 recruits in the top 5. And at the time that he wrote this, 9 have reached the tournament. 10th being this year's Duke squad, who's looking like they could be in the national championship game. But you know, with Duke, they always kind of lose when you don't expect them to. But here's the breakdown of teams. You know, Calipari in his last year in Kentucky lost in the first round, and there were a few of those. The Fab Five, you know, their freshman, sophomore year, they got to the championship game. You know, they got pounded by Duke by like 20, 21 points. And then there was the famous game, Chris Webber game against North Carolina when he got the brain lock. But Cooper Flagg and Kamen Malak could be only the second team to win a natty with 2 guys in the top 5. So it's not like it's a no-brainer scenario where you get 2 top 5 recruits, you get national championships. That's not how it works. But here's the breakdown, and then I'll have my comments on it. Duke in 2022 lost in the second round. Duke in 2018 lost in the Elite 8. Duke in 2016 lost in the second round. Kansas 2014 lost in the second round. 2000 Kentucky lost. They lost in the champion. They went to the championship game, but they had 3 top 5 recruits. 2012 UCLA lost in the first round. We got several first round, second round outs with top 5 recruits. And then that one was Kentucky in 2011. That is the team with Anthony Davis, and they had Michael Kidd Gilchrist. So there you have it. Now people will say, well, you know, all those teams at least got to the tournament, and you had 1 natty and 1 Elite 8 and a lot of first and second round outs. Okay, all those teams got to the tournament. I think what the writer is missing is, oh yeah, by the way, all those teams are historic basketball programs. I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Duke. We're talking about Kentucky. We're talking about Kansas. We're talking about UCLA, the 4 most successful basketball programs in college basketball history. And still, there was only 1 natty in there, and you had the Kentucky team with 3 top 5 guys. And still couldn't win a championship. So I don't think it's the get he thinks it is. Rutgers is not that team. We don't have that history. We don't have that tradition. We were fortunate we landed a couple top 5 guys. But we don't have the infrastructure. And quite frankly, we didn't have the complementary players to be successful. You know, Mike from the Night Report talked about how, you know, we got the entree, but we didn't have all the sides that go together and match well with your entree. And let's get to what's line I said here. He falls into tropes, and a lot of people do this, and I disagree vehemently and have all season long. How Ace and Dylan were fantastic, but the talent around them weren't enough. Wrong. It just wasn't complimentary. You know, with Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, looks like UCLA is making a comeback. Those teams can have the infrastructure where they have the right kinds of players that can succeed in their program because of their winning traditions. And by the way, those teams are the ones that get the NIL. So as NIL money, as the rich will get richer. The teams that win and have the traditions will get the NIL money. So us, the chase after that isn't necessarily going to be a recipe for success just because the good teams do it. The good teams do it because they're good. But we didn't have the complementary players. We had no one in the starting five that could defend the perimeter to disrupt the opposing offense, rebound, get Dylan and Ace running down the court, and being a more efficient offense. That results in, kind of half court sets, Ace and Dylan playing iso ball, slowing down the games. Ace taking some crazy shots, some of them that went in. And then the guys that we had as shooters, PJ Hayes, Zach Martini, Tyson Acuff, Jay Will a little bit, they weren't as effective as they needed to be. And that goes to complementary skill sets, complementary basketball. You hear a lot of talk in football about playing complementary football. If you're going to play stout defense, you're going to need to be able to run the ball, control the clock, and pass it effectively. And although Jay Will had his moments, double-digit scorer last year, he was Big Ten Player of the Week. When was it? Back in January, February this year. And solid defender, although didn't have a great year this year. Isn't a great shooter from three, but a capable passer, capable mid-range shooter. A better complementary piece that would have worked better is a guy that's strictly a distributor of the ball. Really good passing ability. Plays a tenacious defense. Someone like that can distribute the ball and then get it to Dylan and allow him to do what it is that he does, and that's be an efficient scorer, or a more efficient scorer than the rest of the someone like John Stockton. Great vision, great passer of the basketball, tenacious defense. Not a top flight scorer. Or you get somebody that also would have been a better complementary piece. If, Dylan's the point guard, and then you have a really good scorer, really good three-point shooter, Reggie Miller type, Ray Allen type. Let Dylan run the offense. And the pressure doesn't have to be on him to shoot that three. And at times this year, he struggled with that. We were also being soft on the inside. We didn't get a lot of easy buckets. Weren't efficient. And as when you have that, and then you have the guys that were tasked with being our shooters, PJ Hayes was 40% shooter at San Diego, 32% this year. Zach Martini was around 34%. Tyson Acuff, he was somewhere in the low 30s. We never really replaced Cam Spencer's 44% from three. By the way, he goes to UConn, very consistent, shot 44% there. So, mismatched pieces of the puzzle that weren't necessarily the perfect fit, complementary basketball, shooters underperforming, a lack of toughness, a lack of grit, lack of determination, lack of rebounding, a lack of ball distribution. And Ace and Dylan are included in that, resulted in a failed season. That's what it is. I'm being roguish here. We didn't, we didn't fail Ace and Dylan. Everybody on the team failed each other. It's one of those things. Nonetheless, we got to get to work going forward. I'm looking forward to see how Coach Peichel puts this team together, and chasing after Kevin Odie should be a priority if the opportunity is there. I hope we don't have any head-scratching moves like, what? Who's this guy? What? And we better get that rim protector for sure. So let's get going on that. Brief, Big Ten action. Brief recap. In the tournament, Michigan in a surprise close game with San Diego, 68-60. San Diego, wasn't that? That was PJ Hayes, right? PJ Hayes, San Diego. Interesting. I'm wondering if he. I know at one point last year, whenever it was, he said he's the kind of. I think it was him. Said he's not the kind of guy that always looks back as far as the stops that he's been to, but he would have been in the tournament had he stayed at San Diego. Nonetheless, UCLA crushes Utah State. UCLA, the second since we played them, has been a different team. And then Wisconsin spanks Montana. Purdue over High Point. It was a 12-point win, but that might have been a little closer than you might have thought. And Mawat and BYU beats VCU. Now, I took BYU in my bracket, but several guys were picking VCU as the upset here, and it didn't happen. Nonetheless, that's what we got going on. If there's any more news, I hope there's some more news going forward, recruiting and the like. It's the only thing that keeps people like us going in the off season when our teams don't do very well. Everybody, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you the next time. I need a new Rutgers coffee cup. The Rutgers print is kind of fading. I got to get down to Brunswick, Barnes & Noble, maybe get some more cups. We'll see you the next time.